Welcome back. Right now we are joined by Arjun Dhingra, TaeKwonDo coach, incredible athlete, and a very successful, thriving businessman. He is tuning into our show virtually from San Francisco. Arjun, how are you today?
I'm great. Happy New Year, a little early, and hope your holidays have been good out there in Utah.
They've been fabulous. We're getting lots of snow and looking forward to 2022, definitely. And I'm also very much looking forward to talking with you and learning more about what you're doing, your history, as you have done many things very inspiring. So tell me a bit about your career right now and what led you to be such a successful mortgage banker.
Well, the success part, I'll leave that, to the audience and the people I work with. Still very much a work in progress, but I've been in the industry for 20 years, and like everyone who is in the mortgage space, because nobody sets out to do it, I fell into it by accident in my senior year of college back in Reno, Nevada, which is my hometown, and started working basically remotely for a company out of Las Vegas, and then decided this is pretty cool, and I'm going to skip grad school, and I'm going to open an office with a partner and my brother, which is what we did. So we signed a lease on an office space, hired a bunch of telemarketers. It was just crazy like that, almost like a movie. And that was back in 2001. And so I moved out to the San Francisco Bay Area just a few years after that to help open an office for our bank. And I've been here basically ever since. So again, in the industry for 20 years. And it's been a unique journey through, various market cycles. And of course, the big recession and market crash from a little over 10 years ago. And I've learned a lot of good lessons and, have really reshaped my business and how I approach it and how I deal with people. But that's my background, on the professional side. And then athletically, I've done Taekwondo since I was 8 years old. I got bullied as a kid, like many kids do. And I'm a big advocate now for anti-bullying campaigns. And it's something I'm very passionate about. But got into it after watching the original Karate Kid. That definitely dates me because most people are familiar with the newer Karate Kid, the Jackie Chan one, but I'm talking about the really old one from the 80s for the audience out there that can recall, and got into it, and I've been doing it ever since. And I've been very fortunate to be able to represent our great country on Team USA for Taekwondo for about 7 years. And now I have the even greater privilege of being the co-head coach for Team USA. And yeah, 35 years later, I'm still doing it.
And in fact, you've won the world championship twice. Is that correct?
That is correct, Christine. Yeah, in 2007 and 2014, and that was when I retired. I kind of had a very picturesque dream ending as an athlete. I got to go out the way I wanted to and finished on a really good high note, and I'm super grateful for that.
And when you look back on Taekwondo and what you've been able to do there, now you're coaching and mentoring, as you mentioned, you're giving back to the sport that has in fact given you so much and you've been so successful in. But you mentioned your parents put you into the sport due to bullying at school. How did that help you? And did you see that as a bit of a turning point for you when you were so young?
Definitely, and I think it's something that impacts a lot of children at young ages because of either bullying, and especially now. I mean, I grew up in the non-internet age, right? And with cyberbullying and other elements that are out there, it's so much more difficult to be a kid and to find places of safety to where you're away from that stuff. But in my case, which is all that I could speak of because I was the only one who experienced it, from that point of view, it definitely shaped me being in it. My confidence rose. It helped me from a coordinative standpoint. It helped me with other sports and other athletics, which of course helped with inclusion and helped me, develop more friends, more circles. And that, over the years, my confidence would rise. But as I gained, more knowledge and rank and advancement in Taekwondo, I started to really see how that would spill over into other aspects of my life, whether it was in academics, certainly in business, because there's a lot of parallels between my role as a coach and my role as an advisor, which is what I kind of pride myself on now in the mortgage space.
Which is exactly what I want to ask you about next, is how does Taekwondo and your extensive experience in that affect what you're doing in your career now as a mortgage banker, as you help others, as you help your clients find that road, the successful road to home ownership?
So I'd like to say, because I spent a lot of time trying to craft this, but my personal brand is being the guy that gets you from here to here. And the parallels between both worlds, martial arts and the mortgage banking / real estate space are very similar in that way. You know, I'm the person who gets you to be, you know, takes you from a renter to becoming an owner, from becoming an owner to becoming a multiple property owner and growing your wealth, the athlete to champion, the aspiring student to black belt. So it's very easy for me to wear interchangeably both hats. And I feel like it's a perfect marriage almost that way, because I don't feel like I'm doing very different things when I'm in both worlds. They seamlessly kind of intertwine. The mindset, the approach, the preparation is very similar. The advisement, you know, being right there behind, you know, next to someone and guiding them. So again, very, very similar, lots of synergies, and just an easy back and forth dynamic.
You know, it seems that while winning world championships in Taekwondo and becoming a very successful mortgage banker, being able to be successful financially, while that's important to you, the true importance, the way that you really find encouragement and joy in what you do, is actually this process of helping others, whether it's in Taekwondo or whether it's in your business.
That, without question, and I appreciate you saying that, because that's essentially what I get my highs off of, is helping people and giving. And it, you know, to some people that sounds cheesy and says it's, you know, almost like a bit of a cliche, but that's really what I am doing. I have to do that, and it's a byproduct of the work that I put in, and that's the end result, is that I've given and someone has been able to go from here to here, whatever that may have been in their progression, and I get a lot of fulfillment and satisfaction and a lot of joy from that. And I hope my clients and the athletes I coach feel the same as well.
And I'm curious, when you look back at that decision you made, a senior in college, to go into the mortgage industry and have that be at least the start of your career, you said it basically, you weren't really looking for that, it found you. But tell me more about that decision, because it sounds like it was a bit of a change, a bit of a turn from what you were planning. And so many people have a hard time taking those chances when it's very unexpected and not the plan.
Yeah, and sometimes that's, you know, the right path for you. It's the one that you weren't paying attention to. We all get so fixated, and I'm definitely, you know, a byproduct of that. You know, growing up in a very regimented higher education household, both my parents had masters and postmaster degrees. And so I just thought that's what I'm going to do. I was kind of on that conveyor belt. And I have no knock against education, because there's a lot of people who say that education's not, you know, needed anymore, higher education. There's a lot of arguments for or against. Look, anything that's going to make you smarter and more intelligent and give you structure and framework, I'm an advocate for. So that was definitely in play there. And, you know, I was, like I said, you know, it was a total accident. So my senior year, I was really geared up and looking more towards wanting to go to graduate school. And then because of what was going on in the broader economy, housing was really hot, was starting to take off. And this was, again, in the 2000, 2001, 2002 timeline, in a window where, you know, there was just such huge growth in development, in new construction, and people getting access to capital. Banks were getting very, very, you know, liberal and, you know, almost a little bit loose with the checks that they were writing for mortgage financing. So it just seemed like a really hot industry. There were people I knew that was in it. I kind of just, you know, wanted to step into it and try it. And I thought maybe I'll go back to the grad school thing. But as I got more and more immersed in it 20 years later, it doesn't look like I'll be going back to school anytime soon.
And Arjun, how has the pandemic affected what you do as a coach and as a business individual, as a mortgage banker, with the incredible craziness of the market right now? How has that played a role in what you're doing?
So the pandemic for us, I mean, we were in one of the few industries or spaces, and my, you know, heart always goes out to, you know, business owners, restaurant owners, school children, you know, people that were really, really impacted and still are impacted by the pandemic. But our industry and space was one of the few that actually took off and experienced, you know, record growth and opportunity. And so we saw it as just that. I saw it as an opportunity to help as many people as possible, because people needed to restructure their financing, get their financial house in order, so to speak. It's a phrase I use a lot. And, you know, lower their payments, consolidate debt, have cash on the sidelines for this rainy day fund because of job losses or job insecurity and just the overall world being so shaky. And so the pandemic kind of kicked our business into high gear because we were really needed. I feel we were almost essential, not to use that word or take it out of context, but our business and my industry and space was very essential to the market, which is why you saw so many real estate transactions and basically the entire industry post record volume on the transaction side and the volume side for mortgages. So definitely, and it's still going on. I mean, I'm affected by the pandemic right now with you here on this interview, right? Like downtown San Francisco is still a little bit helter-skelter in terms of office buildings opening, and my office decided to shut down its elevators today. So I'm talking to you outside my building. So it's still going on, but it's been an opportunity to serve and to help. And that's something that we've really relished and kind of taken with some pride and almost as a badge of honor.
And in the few moments we have left, where do you hope to be in 5, 10 years? And how can we reach out to you and follow along with everything that you're doing?
So I'm very big on, continuing to try and reach as many people, which was very transformative for me. And I want to, share that with other entrepreneurs and business owners out there, that social media is how you can reach people. It's no longer just kind of an option or a thing that people can look at and say, I don't know if I want to get into that, or maybe I'll leave it, maybe get to it. You have to have a brand. You've got to have a voice that speaks for you when you're not able to speak, and be able to reach people. And the pandemic, if anything, was evidence of that, because so many people, when they were not able to transact with people in the physical sense, the only way they could was virtually, like this. And if you have a message, if you have a brand and you have a business that you can promote and talk about and be excited about and share things and do so this way, that's how you can truly grow. So I love following other entrepreneurs and sharing ideas and collaborating, and I can be found at Arjun Mortgage on Instagram as well as Facebook and LinkedIn. So I interface with most people that way, but that's how, I like to stay connected. So please reach out to me and drop me a line anytime out there. And then as far as, what I'm looking most forward to, or what changes, or how we kind of see the market shaping up, as we're nearing the end of the year here and heading into next year, it's going to continue to be a great year for housing and, second vacation home markets like the one you're in Park City and other parts of the country. So, we're looking forward to that opportunity to try and help and serve as many families and individuals as possible, and preach financial literacy, help people make better decisions. And we'll see where we're sitting, a year from now.
And we'd love to have you back and continue this conversation. Thank you so much, Arjun Dhingra, for joining us today right here on Park City Television. It's been an absolute pleasure speaking with you, meeting you, being inspired by your journey, and hearing some of your advice to everyone within their careers and professions right now. Really appreciate your time today, all the way from San Francisco. We'll be back with more right here on Mountain Connections after this.